What do you mean, like the microphone?
Yeah, it'll pick you. Hello, everyone. I'm Mr. Will. Can you all hear me okay? Can you see me okay? See, look, the microphone's not moving. Can you hear me okay? Hello. Okay, should be working now. Okay, you can hear me okay? Okay, so today on my live stream, I have a special surprise. I actually have a special guest with me today. So this is Mark. This is my coworker, and I'm going to introduce myself, and then he can introduce himself. Okay. So hi everyone. You should hopefully know me by now. I'm Mr. Will. I'm the teacher of Will's Study Way. And I have a YouTube channel where I make lessons to help you with your speaking. My speaking course is called Will's Successful Speaking. I also have a Facebook and my page, WSW English, and I make weekly videos on idioms and vocabulary. Okay, so I'm going to pass you to Mark, and he's going to introduce himself and say where he's from. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Hope you can hear me. Hi, everyone who's saying hi in the chats. Yeah, my name is Mark. I am from Florida, from Miami. Like you said, a lot of times Americans say the state that they're from. So
yes, they do.
Very often I say that. My city is actually Miami, if anyone's ever been to that area. And I'm here to help out Will today. I'm also an English teacher. I work with him.
Yeah, we are both English teachers. And do you want to talk a little bit about your YouTube as well?
Yes, I actually have a YouTube channel myself, and I do videos around the world for people who are interested in seeing or moving to those places. So I explain cities from around the world to give you all the information you need.
Okay, yeah, so you're very lucky. You have American English and you have British English today. Yeah. So we can talk a little bit about the differences and what's the same.
Oh, I should say the name.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So my name is Mark, and my channel is called On Your Mark World.
Yeah, similar to mine, Will's Study Way. On Your Mark World. Our names are both in the title.
Good to use your name along with your interest in businesses.
Yeah. Okay, so my live stream is going to be a very quick review of what you have learned so far with my videos. So I'm going to ask the chat a few questions, and if it comes up, then Mark can add his input and we can talk about the difference between American and British English as we go. Okay, so first of all, let's see. Can you introduce yourselves? Can you introduce yourselves? So, hello, my name is Will. What are your names? Can you comment in the chat and introduce yourself? Okay, so I'll give you a few minutes, and while you're doing that, I will ask another question to give you some time to answer the next one. Okay, so I will follow you, Sir Will. What is your name on YouTube? So my YouTube name is WSW English. Mark is On Your Mark World. So I will put the link in the chat so you can go and check it out and subscribe and learn about different things about Korea and also about cities, right?
Yes. Yeah. America, Thailand, Singapore, Vietnam, lots of different countries.
Okay, so I put your link somewhere. There it is. Okay, so this is Mark's YouTube link. Okay, so it's in the chat. So can you introduce yourselves? So hi, my name is Dwi. Am I saying that right? I hope so. I come from Indonesia. I stay in Malang, East Java, Indonesia. Okay, nice to see you this evening.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Shun, I'm from China. Hello, Shun Shun. Hello, my name is Rhea. I'm from the Philippines. Hello.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Okay, good. Okay, so introductions. We learned in lesson 1 all about introductions. What kinds of questions could we ask when we first meet people? So maybe you would ask, obviously, you would ask their name. So we have 2 different ways of introducing. We have formal and we have casual. So can you tell me what formal is? So I am Meta, is that right, from Indonesia? Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So can you tell me? People are just saying, "Oh, hello, Anas."
Anas from Bali.
Yeah. Okay. So can you tell me what formal is? Do you know what the word formal means? Do you know what it means? Okay, so formal, Mark, would you like to say what formal means?
Formal means, well, it's easier to say formal when you say what casual means. So casual is a laid back, regular conversation. Formal is when you're speaking to someone who's older than you, or like a boss in a higher position, situation like that.
Okay, so nice to meet you guys, not met you guys. Meet, M-E-E-T. Okay.
Yeah, met is past tense.
Yeah. So formal is maybe how you would talk if you were meeting someone from work, maybe, or business, and you might introduce yourself by your family name. So you might say, "I'm Mr. Marwood." So if I was a teacher in England, I would be Mr. Marwood. So what would your name be if you were formal?
Well, my last name is Peterson, so I say Mr. Peterson.
Yeah. So formal is official. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it is official. Yeah.
So either to strangers, someone older than you,
Yeah.
a boss,
Yeah.
someone like that.
So yeah, what's very interesting is in Korea, something we have learned, both probably the hard way, is if someone is older than you, you will speak a completely different language, almost, of Korean. It's very different. In English, we would just say pretty much more words, a few more words. Like instead of if you wanted to ask a question, you might say, "May I do this? Would it be okay if I do this?" This is very formal. However, in Korean, it's like a completely different sentence.
Many words are different, and different, and you also have to end the sentences with like "yo," which also makes it a little bit more proper.
Yeah, very true. Okay, so that's formal business. You would say Mr. Marwood. If it was a girl, you'd say Mrs. or Miss or MS, Miss as well. So casual might be with your friends. Okay, so how might you greet a friend? How might you greet a friend? So formal is the expression that people use to speak with someone older or having more respectful position. Very good.
That's a very good way to word it.
I'll teach you an idiom. Spot on. Spot on. That means perfect. Spot on. Yeah, so you learn a new idiom there. Great. Do you say spot on in America?
Yes, we do.
Okay, just checking. Right. There's many words I will say that confuse him because they're British and American don't say.
Especially with this show, Lisa.
Yeah. Okay. So what was I saying? Casual. Yeah. So how would you greet in a casual way? So how would you greet your friends? Can you answer the question? How would you greet your friends? Okay, so thanks for the new idiom, Mr. Maud. So you're welcome. Hello. Yep, you might say hello. Can you think of a more casual way of greeting someone instead of hello? Spot on. Yeah. Okay. So can you think of another way of greeting without saying hello? A different greeting.
Sometimes it could be a question.
Okay, so the example, hi. Yeah, hi is a good one. What's up? What's up, bro? Yeah, that's very casual. What's up, bro? Yeah. Is that correct? Hi, I'm Dwi, and you. So, hi, I'm Dwi, and you. I guess you're asking the name by saying and you.
Yeah, that could work as a greeting.
Yeah, it would work. Hi, I'm Dwi, and you. Usually, if you're saying your name for the first time, you wouldn't greet someone with hi and then say and you. You would probably say, hi, I'm Dwi, and then you might say, what's your name? Or what can I call you? Or in formal way, how do I address you? So the grammar is okay, but the context, we wouldn't usually say and you in that way. Okay, so how to greet a friend for formal. Okay, so sometimes, yes, you would use formal language to greet a friend. So you could say hello, you could say good morning. Maybe if you haven't seen them for a while, you might say, I haven't, it's been a long time, that kind of thing. Hi, what's up, my dear? Up, dear. Okay, so this is something that I would like to try and fix. Okay, so saying dear. I understand it is culture of certain cultures to say dear. In English, dear is kind of what you would call your partner. So your girlfriend or your wife or sometimes your husband in that way. So just saying hi, hey, what's up? Hi, what's up? That's fine. Casual. You don't need to say dear.
Dear is a little too personal.
Yeah.
Like you know them as a relationship.
Yeah. It has romantic links to it.
Could be someone in the family too. But usually it's for your significant other.
Yeah. Yeah. So I understand certain countries do use it, and a lot of people have said it to me many, many times. And I actually made a video. I will post a link after this live stream. I made a link all about how to address people and how to address teachers. So go and check that video, and it will explain why dear is not a good idea. Not good to say in English. Okay, so we have, okay, you're talking to each other. That's fine. Okay, so that was formal and casual. So formal, as someone said in the chat, it's official, it's business. Casual is for more friends or people you are familiar with, people you know well, and people who are comfortable with you. That's very important. You've got to be comfortable with each other. Okay, if one person is really friendly and the other person is not, and you speak casual, it could be a little bit strange. So you've got to be familiar. You've got to know the person well. Okay, so next question then. So I'm seeing lots of people talking in the chat. So I think if I ask you some questions, hopefully you're going to answer me. Okay, so nicknames. What is a nickname? What is a nickname? So while you're thinking in the chat and answering this question, Mark, do you have any nicknames?
Nickname or middle name?
Nickname.
Okay, nicknames. I have two that people call me sometimes. Want me to tell them?
Yes, as long as they're okay.
They're okay.
Okay.
Because I was studying architecture before, and my name is Mark. People mixed it, and it's Markitect. Architect, Mark, Markitect.
Okay. So just one second. So do you know what an architect is? What is an architect? Can you tell them what an architect is?
An architect will design, draw plans for buildings.
Yeah. So they plan to build. They plan building shapes and what they look like.
Yes. Outside, inside, what will it look like? And then later, other people, like engineers, will take it and build from those plans.
Okay. I see. Okay. So that's one of your nicknames. What was the other nickname?
The other nickname is Smark.
Smart. Why?
Smart, Mark, Smark.
Okay.
I made up Markitect because
Okay.
it was something I made up in high school and stuck. But Smark, other people made up for me because I like to quiz people on geography, capitals, history, tell them important facts around the world. There's a lot of things I'm very familiar with, very worldly, and people ended up calling me that because they're surprised by how much I know about different things.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, so you said nickname is the other name. Yeah, I guess it is other name. A nickname is familiar name. Yeah. So it will be a name that maybe your friends call you, or your family call you, or your coworkers, or a humorous name. Yeah. Maybe they thought your name was humorous. Yeah. So yeah, I've had many nicknames in the past. Some of them not nice. Some of them just plain strange. But I think the key thing with a nickname is, especially if it's in school and that kind of thing, is you only use a nickname if the person is okay with it. If it's a bad nickname, you shouldn't use the nickname. And a good rule for this is to let the person tell you what they want you to call them. So, for example, they might say, so my name, for example, is William, but everybody will call me Will. So I might say, my name is William, but you can call me Will. Okay. Usually if someone says that, then you know it's okay to use their nickname. If not, and you find out their nickname, probably don't call them their nickname. So yeah, I've had some bad nicknames. I've already told you the story, if you watch one of my videos, how I became known as Guillaume because it's French for William. And then people got confused and thought, oh, okay, if Guillaume is French for William, then Guy must be French for Will because it's Guillaume short. But it doesn't. Actually, Guy means guy. But I was still Guillaume and Guy for about 5 years in school. And
that's news to me.
Yeah, I told the story.
I just know Wilhelm.
Yeah, I told the story in one of my videos how I've actually been to parties after I finished school when I was like 18 or 19, and I've said, "Oh, hi, I'm William. You can call me Will." I've introduced myself, and they'd be like, "Oh, what school did you go to?" Because I come from a very small town, and usually, if you meet someone, they probably went to the same school as you. There's like 2 or 3 schools in the area you could go to. And they'll say, what school did you go to? And I'll say, oh, I went to Malton School. And they're like, oh, really? So did I. Oh, I know lots of people from Malton School. I don't know you, though. I don't know Will. And I'll be like, you might know me as Guy or Guillaume. And they're like, oh, Guillaume. Oh, you're Guillaume. And they'll be so surprised. And they'll like know my whole life from school, just from my nickname. So it like followed me around my town for like years after my school had finished.
Wow.
Thankfully, in Korea, Will is just my name, and I haven't carried any of my nicknames over. So yeah. So Mr. Will is my teaching name online, my online teaching name. So it's kind of a nickname. So I'm seeing some messages. So let's have a look. It's a name that people see to call us. My nickname is Yusil or Buguru. My colleagues used to call me Dwi as I have small body now. Most people call me Buguru, a female teacher. So that means female teacher in Indonesian, as I'm a teacher. I guess guru is like for Sikhism. I guess it's a
like a master,
like a teacher, yeah. Okay, yes, it is. Okay, so you get called female teacher. That's interesting because in Korea, they do not call each other by their names. They call each other by their titles. So they will say, instead of teacher, well, obviously English teacher, but Songseng Nim is Korean for teacher. And they just call everyone like Sam. So it's like Sam. And they'll just talk to other teachers and they'll say Sam.
Sim.
Yeah. And it's very confusing, especially when you've got a Sam in your class, because whenever they talk to you, if they don't speak English, they'll say Sam, and then the student will turn around and be like, me? Yeah. So
they call me Mark Sim.
Yeah.
Or Mark Teacher.
Mark Sam. Yeah.
Wilson.
Yeah. It's more Sam. Sim, Sam.
I usually hear Sim.
Yeah. Okay. So in our hometown, they known as my nickname as Piling. Ping. Oh, Ping, right? Not in my real name. So if I ask someone who is, sometimes my students call me, means female teacher. English is English, right? Yeah, who teaches English. Okay, interesting. Okay, so I'll just say one more thing about nicknames and then we'll move on. So nicknames, they can also be what we call like shortened names. So for example, my name is William. Will is my shortened name. Okay. There's other ones as well, like Robert. It could be Bob. It could be Bobby. It could be Rob. So it's good to know this, just in case you if someone introduces themselves by their shortened name and you think their actual name. If you need their actual name, you need to be aware that it's probably the longer version of it. Okay,
yeah,
so
the longer version of my name is Marcus, and almost no one ever calls me that.
Is it Marcus on your passport?
No, not at all. Just like
maybe
my uncle will occasionally say it, or some friends like our friend Anthony. Just to be funny, they'll say a Marcus. No one ever calls me that.
I didn't know Mark was short for Marcus. Yeah,
it is, but no one ever calls me that unless they're strange.
Okay.
Please don't ever call me Marcus.
I won't, but you just told them to. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you what one of my names could be that I don't like. So I'm not going to tell you. My uncle actually calls me it, and I don't like it at all. Okay, so sometimes my students call me. Oh yeah, it means female teacher who teaches English. That's interesting.
But a nickname that my brother had that he really, really hates, that followed him since his childhood, my uncle still calls him that, is Bug. I don't know why. I think he was very annoying. He was a very picky eater. He made loud noises in a ruckus sometimes. So people called him Bug. He hates it when people call him Bug now, except for my uncle. So if you ever see him, he's on my San Francisco video. Yeah, call him Bug. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Okay, so in my family, my nieces and nephews call me Tita. It means auntie Meta, but my friends just call me Meta Ta Met. Okay, interesting. So it's interesting that nicknames can be associated with family as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like my grandma, she has her own nickname. Lots of grandparents will have their own nickname if they're
yeah, I guess that's true. Like some people will call, like I know if you've ever seen the TV show Big Bang Theory, Sheldon is like Sheldon, one of the characters, he's like Moon Pie to his grandma. What's he called his grandma? I can't remember. He has a nickname for her too.
I don't remember. I don't think I saw this
episode. I can't remember. Never mind. Right. Okay. So moving on to nicknames. Moving off nicknames, I also made a video and we talked about middle names. Okay, so what is a middle name? Does your country or culture have middle names? So in England, we have middle names. Most people will have middle names. In America?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, we do.
Only one middle name or many?
In America, we usually only have one.
Yeah.
Like me and everyone in my family only has one. I know some people from South America, like Brazil, they'll have like 2 or 3 middle names. Their names get very long.
Yeah.
But America, usually one.
Yeah. So my middle name, very simple, is David. But I would never, ever use my middle name without my first name and my family name, my surname, my last name. So I would always say William David Marwood. That is my full name. And we would only use a full name for like maybe our passports, our medical documents, other travel documents, at the bank.
Like legal reasons
yeah,
only.
Legal or to do with the government, that kind of thing. Otherwise, we wouldn't use middle name.
Usually.
Now,
and sometimes when you do on those documents, they just want the initial for the middle name.
Yeah.
Very often.
Yeah. So something that, again, another lesson I've learned in Korea is that middle names just confuse Koreans a lot. So my name actually, so Koreans will have the name the other way around. So the family name comes first. So my name is actually backwards. It's like Marwood William David, but I'm sure yours is the same. Mine is so long that my ID card has a hyphen and a second line. So it's on 2 lines is my name.
I think mine, they just cut off the end of mine.
Yeah. But in Korea, I'm not sure if you know this, it might be the same in your country, but you need that name to do anything, to get a phone contract, to get a bank account, to buy things, to use the computer, to play games online, everything. So I have to know how to write my name. Otherwise, nothing works.
Yeah. You have lots of issues with your documents.
Yeah.
In America, you do first name, middle name, last name. In Korea, it's last name, first name, middle name.
Yeah.
Officially for documents.
Okay, so middle name is mother name. Okay, so what do you mean by mother's? Do you mean your same as your mother's middle name, or do you mean your mother's actual name is your middle name? So what's interesting, I actually have the same middle name as my dad. I'm not sure why they pick names. Yeah, my brother's different, but I have the same middle name as my dad, which always confused me growing up.
My middle name is after my mom's favorite cousin.
Okay, yeah. So middle name, your parents have complete control over your names, and middle name, they can just choose whatever they want. Again, I told you the story in my video. If you watched talking about names, I think I've told you this before, but you probably maybe don't remember. I actually have a friend, and he has like 5 middle names. And the reason he has 5 middle names is because his parents thought it would be funny. They wanted to see how long they could make his name for the birth certificate. And yeah, so his name is something, I can't remember his exact name, but it's like Ross Martin Xenon something Crosby. It's really long. And he always told me this when I went to university with him. He always told me this, but I never believed him. Honestly, I just thought he was joking. He's the kind of person who jokes. He kids around. And yeah, he showed me his ID card. And yeah, it actually shows that it's on like 3 lines. So yeah, it's very surprising. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say about middle names. Basically, in England, they're just important for government and official documents. That's all you need to know. Nobody will ever say their middle name without the first name and their last name. Okay, just
some people go by their middle names if they don't like their first name. I know some people who do that.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I don't know anyone who has done that, but maybe in America. Yeah,
I know maybe like 2 people.
Yeah,
I think my cousin did that, and an ex.
Yeah. Okay, so like my middle name, Pa is from my mother's maiden surname. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, I see that. Okay. Okay, so moving on from middle names. So let's talk about, actually, I think we've talked enough about that. So I'm going to say to everyone in the chat, you can ask us any questions you want. So you have 5 minutes to ask us any questions, and we will do our best to answer. Okay? So you have 5 minutes to ask us some questions. So I will give you a few minutes to think. Okay? So while you're thinking, I told you we would talk a little bit about the difference between American and British English. So I actually said joking when I was talking about my friend. I thought he was joking. So would America say joking?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would?
Sometimes we'll say kidding.
Yeah. So I would say personally, as a British person, I would say we would use joking more commonly. And it is my opinion that Americans would probably say kidding more often. Yeah.
You can say either.
Same in England too, but
Yeah.
we definitely say joking more. Yeah.
I think we say kidding more.
Yeah, that's yeah. Okay, so does anyone have any questions? No. Okay, so I guess I'll talk I'll add a few more things to say. So we talked about where are you from? Where are you from? So I'm from, okay, what drama will teacher recommend?
Like
So,
TV show?
If you want to improve your English, TV show, there's one show that comes to mind, and that is Friends. Friends is very, very good. And the reason it is very good is because the characters are so, likable, or they're so interesting that you don't need to understand what is happening in the story. You just like the characters and you want to know what's going to happen to the character next. And that wanting kind of levels up your English so you can understand better. So an example of this is actually my boss. She wanted to learn English with me, and I started showing her little clips of Friends. And we used to just read through the script, which, by the way, not a good way to learn English, by just reading through the script, but that's what she wanted to do. So we used to read through the scripts, and we used to talk about, I used to add things to it to make it more interesting. But then we stopped studying for a while because she was too busy. And she said, she spoke to me like a week or 2 weeks later, and she's like, oh, you're right, Friends is great. I'm on like season 2. And I'm like, so you watched the whole season when we were only on the first episode and we'd only watched 10 minutes of it? And at the time when I was teaching it, she seemed bored. But like after a week, she was already binge watching. Binge watching mean watching lots and lots and lots in a row, which is funny because she always complains she doesn't have time for anything. So I'm not sure how she got a chance to watch a whole season of Friends. But yeah, Friends is great. Really, really good.
I actually saw I believe it was a TED Talk video. Someone said they learned German through watching Friends.
Mm-hmm.
It was dubbed in German, and they were studying along as well. She was a polyglot, which means she speaks multiple languages. And she realized she was doing really well with her German study when she actually understood one of the jokes from Friends and laughed really, really hard. Yeah. So it's a really good way to learn it in a fun way to interact.
So I know in Japan, businessmen and I guess business women too in business, they will actually use Friends to teach English. I think it was a Korean pop star. I don't know if you've heard of BTS. They said they learned English by watching Friends. My wife too. She improved her English so much just from watching Friends. So yeah, I think Friends is a great TV show to watch. And my mom, I'm going to say mom would be American.
We say mom, M-O-M.
Yeah, my mom, M-U-M, British. My mom always told me that I used to watch Friends so much that if I could ever get rich by watching Friends, then she would be amazed. She's like, oh, you'd be a millionaire if you could get rich watching Friends. So what I hope to do in the future as an online teacher is actually make an English course based around Friends and show you how you can actually improve your English with Friends, the TV show.
Okay. There's lots of words, phrases, idioms, shows like that we'll use. on a regular conversational basis.
Yeah.
That will make, I think, learning your English accelerate, go up a lot.
Yeah. The storylines are so relatable too, and they'll like be, you can, it's not even just the language, you'll learn the culture, you'll learn little conversation, like things you do to keep conversation going, things to move conversations along, things to change conversation, things to end conversation. There's so much in there. And because it's such a likable show with characters that you actually care about, you will improve a lot. Okay, so any British drama want to learn British accent. So British accent. So the first thing you need to think is why? Why do you want to learn the British accent? If you have a good reason to learn the British accent, maybe you need it for your job, maybe you want to go to England and you want to talk to English or British people, then you have a good reason to learn it. Then I recommend things like Sherlock. For movie, I recommend like things like Pride and Prejudice, proper old British style. So if anyone wants to learn the American accent, can you think of any TV shows good for the American accent?
Well,
I guess Friends, because it is
lot,
actually American.
Yeah. A show I was doing with my adult students was Seinfeld. They really liked. Yeah. They also like to explain around New York. There's a lot of different neighborhoods, different things that they'll use as like slang sometimes within the show to explain different neighborhoods and parts of New York. So they were really excited when I could explain those areas and what it's really like to be there. I've been to New York many times. I knew some people who learned English extremely well by watching the movie Titanic again and again and again and again and again because they loved the movie, and they could speak with a really good accent, American accent, even though they've never been to America before, just by watching that movie again and again and again.
Yeah.
Another show I watched that was really good. It explained a lot of idioms and things for people learning English. It's a higher advanced level, but they also explain lots of things for you. Was Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, which I thought was really useful.
Yeah. Also, if you want to, so something I've probably spoke to most of you, and I've probably told you this many times. Yes, TV shows are great, movies are great, subtitles are okay as long as you lessen the subtitles after a while. You don't just stay with the subtitles. The other thing is reading books. So Mark has, I just call him Mark teacher. Mark has taught many lessons in his at work where they've read Harry Potter, Mr. Popper's Penguins, like loads of different books. I'm sure
Charlotte's Web.
Yeah, Charlotte's Web, this kind of thing.
I have one student who learned extremely well by taking just like Charlotte's Web or Harry Potter home, studying very, very hard, and coming back and was able to read it clearly, pronounce the words better, understand a lot more of what's happening within the story just by studying that book.
How long was that? How long did that take her?
Like just one semester.
Yeah. So how long is a semester?
3 months.
3 months. Yeah. So
she went from being the lowest in the class to the top of the class.
Yeah.
In a very short amount of time, just by reading.
Yeah. And why did that happen? Because she really, really wanted to understand the book. She really, really liked the book.
Yeah. But the other students in the class just read along with the class and didn't take it home and didn't work harder and didn't study harder. And they stayed at a similar level, going up slowly with progress. But she took it home and she really tried to study. She really tried to understand the story and what's happening. So she went up very fast.
Yeah. And this particular student, we've actually judged speaking contests, and she has won pretty much every year. She won I think 2 years in a row, 3 years in a row, maybe
2 or 3 years.
Yeah, her English was a level above anyone else in our entire school or center. Yeah.
And she could barely say a sentence when I saw her at first.
Yeah. Yeah, she was in my writing class later on, and her writing was one of the best in the class too. She not just speaking, not just understanding, her writing was also good, and this was all because she cared about reading and she wanted to improve her English. Yeah.
And she wasn't hard. She wasn't afraid to do the work.
Yeah.
To study extra hard.
Yeah.
She was looking forward to more things to study.
Mm-hmm.
It excited her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So going back to Mark mentioned Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. The TV show is great. The movie is okay. TV show is great. But the books are very good too. Mm-hmm. So I've read the first book. I read it actually to my wife. And I'd always heard about these books. I've always wanted to read them. But when I actually read it, I was like, I could not stop reading it. Like after every chapter, it was like, what's going to happen next?
Very exciting.
Yeah. And there's so many idioms and so many phrasal verbs and so many phrases that you wouldn't normally get from a textbook that we do actually use in conversation, and you will learn from this book. So a good book, and again, I mentioned Friends. Series of Unfortunate Events is also my plan if I make a reading lesson, a reading course with a reading group where I have people reading a book online, not in the classroom, online. I will use A Series of Unfortunate Events as one of my books.
I highly recommend that. And the book that I'm reading with my girlfriend right now is To All the Boys I Loved Before, and the sequel to that, because it has a lot of casual phrases, idioms, things that people regularly say, high school students would say. And even for me, the second book has even higher level vocabulary that sometimes we have to look up, because it's really good for learning vocabulary and learning casual way that people would usually talk to each other in America.
Yeah, that book he mentioned, definitely more of an advanced learner. If you're looking to just get started into reading, things like A Series of Unfortunate Events is a good thing. Harry Potter, but
that was a little advanced.
Yeah, so Harry Potter is a little bit like the first few chapters are very kind of boring and dull, and you kind of have to get through those before it gets interesting. Charlotte's Web, I've heard good things about. I've never actually read it.
Charlotte's Web was easy enough to be a beginner, and also I think we're doing Zootopia.
Oh yes, yeah. If you have
then Coraline.
Yeah, if you have, so the books he just mentioned, these are like the movie version, the book of the movie, where they're actually for study, and they actually have vocabulary and things and activities with them. And yeah, if you can get hold of those books, they're also very good.
If you can get it in your language and read along, it'd be helpful.
Okay, so I wish I could do that too. You can. What's stopping you? Go and get a book and read your book. And yeah, so another thing that I want to stress as well that I've told many of you, when I say reading, I don't mean read for 6 hours a day or 5 hours a day or read like 10 chapters in a week. Like, it's just reading. You only have to read for 20 minutes per day. The whole point of this is to get you interested and to build a habit. You can start small. So something I talk about all the time with my wife, baby steps. That's what you should be doing. Mm-hmm. Don't try, here's another phrase for you or an idiom, don't try to run before you can walk. Okay, don't try and do too much. 15 or 20 minutes of reading, and I mean solid reading. I don't mean read a sentence. Oh, I don't know this word. Where's my phone? I mean reading the whole page and the next page for 15 minutes every single day.
You can set like a chapter or two or a few pages you can do. Just get yourself in the habit of starting. Yeah,
and make time for it. So say to yourself, okay, I'm going to wake up in the morning. I'm going to read 15 minutes. Do that every day. And by 2 weeks, 3 weeks, if you stick with this, if you do everything, then your English will have improved after 2 or 3 weeks. It won't be amazing, but it will show improvement. And because you've already built that habit, you will keep it going, and you'll find yourself the first few times you do it, it'll be 15 minutes. You'll be like, oh, that was so hard. After like a week, it'll be like, I want to keep going. Let's read the next chapter. Oh, okay, let's read the next chapter. So you'll start reading more and more. And I imagine this is what Mark's student found when she read and she came back and she could speak and she could understand so much better.
And she was more excited to come back and read it with me, to show her progress and to also ask questions, to ask about the certain things that she couldn't understand easily and look up easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so so that's tips, many tips for learning English: reading, watching TV shows, watching movies. So yeah, the key thing I want to say to you here is, I've spoke to a lot of people. They study grammar. They do exercise books, just like school, and they just do it. And why do they do it? They don't do it because they enjoy it. They do it because they want to improve their English. So why not do something fun to improve your English? Like, you don't have to do textbooks and workbooks and study constantly. You just need to be consistent. Consistent meaning doing it every day for a short time and build that habit. Okay? Vocabulary will come. Sentence structure will come. Grammar will come just by reading, watching TV shows. Fair enough, you can study a little bit of vocabulary here and there, but make sure you are using it in context. Make sure you are using it in sentences.
You reminded me of another idiom when you explained that one before.
Okay.
Don't bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah, I've already taught that idiom because I planned to make a video every day, and I realized that I'd bitten off more than I can chew. Yeah.
Yeah, which means don't take on more work or more things you can do than you're actually capable of doing.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Do smaller amounts that you can accomplish, and eventually you'll accomplish the bigger thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so I can see that there are 8 people watching. So do any of you have any questions? So yeah, my students love to read comics. Would you like to give me some suggestions of comics that are good for my students to improve their English?
He knows all about comics.
Okay, so what kind of comics do they like? Are we talking English comics or are we talking Indonesian comics? So
like Marvel or something.
So personally, I would say comics, the Marvel comics and that kind of thing. I wouldn't say they're very good. I've read those myself, and they're quite confusing, and they're not, even though there's Marvel movies and they're aimed at children and that kind of thing, the comics are not aimed at children. Many people will say comics are for children in that case, like the Marvel and superhero comics, but they're not. So for comics, you would have to let me have a look and do some research. Maybe a webtoon, if you could find a webtoon in English, just a simple little one, that might be helpful. I know that I have 2 books actually that will help me learn Korean that are webtoons, and they've actually been made into books. Okay,
really?
Yeah. Okay, so you said, I love to hear British accent, but it's such rocket science to use it. I tend to use American accent. So please, okay, yeah. So you like voice shadowing.
Maybe some words or things in British accent are more pitchy or something that's harder to say for some people.
So my question. So you said you like voice shadowing. So I have 2 questions. So first of all, what do you think is the difference between the British and the American accent? What is the difference, in your opinion? Is there a difference between the American and British accent? So you say you find the British accent hard. It's harder than the American accent. Personally, I guess I'm a British person. I've spoken all my life, so I don't really see the difficulty. So can you tell me what is difficult compared to the American accent?
If I try to fake a British accent, it's also a little difficult for me. I think for him to fake an American accent,
I can't fake accents. Some people can do it really well. I cannot. Yeah, I've actually I've watched a few learners speak. They've actually been teaching. They've been teaching English, and I've been watching them speak. And what they tend to do is they try. You can see them faking the accent, and what they'll do is when they speak a sentence, they will one or two words will suddenly go into like an American accent, but then it will go to British later on, and it's kind of mixed, and it's very strange.
I knew a family that the mother is British and the father is American, and I think they maybe went to like an American school or something. So most of what they say is with an American accent, but sometimes they'll say a few words like I can't do it. I'm like, what? That doesn't match with the whole rest of the sentence you just said.
Yeah.
So
I would say with the British accent and the American accent, what is a good thing to do is to look at the phonetic script and compare the American phonetic script with the British, because I know the British has, I think, if I remember rightly, this was 10 or so years ago. I think it's two different sounds, Like we have two major differences with our sounds. One is the O sound, and I think one is the Y as well. Or it might be the symbol of the Y. I will check that and get back to you. But yeah, phonetics is the best way to improve your pronunciation. And also what someone said in the group, voice shadowing. Do you know what voice shadowing is?
I think that's when you hear something and repeat it back several times until you can match it.
So yeah,
I can't make up a British accent on my own. I could probably copy something he says.
Yeah. So
if you want me to do it, say it in the comments.
Yeah, no, don't. Yeah, no. Your can't was bad enough, right? Yeah. So
maybe I can't do it.
Yeah. So yeah, voice shadowing is something that I've actually become. It's something new to me. I'd never learnt about it or anything when I was studying or doing my masters.
That's something my girlfriend was doing. So there are programs that you can use. Sometimes.
So I've spoke to people on here, and I think the person who is commenting, I've spoke to you too. And yeah, voice shadowing is a great idea in my opinion. Listening to the news, listening to a show and like repeating to get the intonation right and the way it's said and the gaps between the sounds is a really good idea. Yeah. Okay, so but now I want to use the British accent because I'm not use it. So when I watch in a movie British English, I don't understand. It seems not solid voice rather than the American accent.
That's something good to do, I think, because most people are used to the American accent with TV shows and things like that. But when they meet someone from like Australia or England or Ireland or New Zealand or something,
there we go.
They can't understand them. It's really impossible for them to understand. For me, sometimes it's a little difficult, depending on the words. But to hear a different variety of accents is very, very helpful. Even from other countries, maybe like a French person speaking English or a German person or Chinese person. You know, if you can hear different accents, it helps you to understand the overall language better, I think.
Yeah, I agree too. Learning different accents is great, and different dialects too, because I'm sure in America they have very, very different dialects from state to state.
Oh, very different.
In England, we are so diverse with our speech, and our country is small. Like you can go 20 miles in England, like 20 kilometers, 20 miles, and you will understand what the other person's saying. Now, I exaggerate a little bit. Like you can understand, but like they'll use words that you just don't know. Like, for example, if I said to Mark, like, now then, you probably won't know what I'm talking about.
Now then?
Yeah, now then. It means hello in my accent, my dialect. Now then.
What?
My granddad, if Mark ever met my granddad, he would greet him with, now then, how you doing? And Mark would be confused.
I don't think your parents said something like that to me.
Yeah, they don't speak to their accent isn't that strong. Their dialect isn't
But they
that
did
strong.
give me a mug of stuff I couldn't understand.
A mug? You don't say mug?
The mug. They gave me a
Oh,
mug
yeah,
with all
yeah,
of
the
the
mug
different,
with the, yeah. Different words,
only
yeah.
from Yorkshire, your
So
area.
an example of, so I'll give you an example of how words and dialects can be a little bit different in England. So I was visiting my cousin, and my cousin was, so I think I was like maybe 12 at the time, which means my cousin was maybe 8. And we were playing in the garden or doing something. And she said a word that I didn't know. And she said ram. It's ram. It's ram. And we don't use that where I'm from. I'd never heard it before. She lives 20 miles away. It's a very popular word in their area, but we don't use it. Do you know what ram? Like, Mark looks confused. So do you know what ram is?
Either the animal RAM or random access memory in your computer.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I mean,
so RAM actually means disgusting. It means something that's horrible, not tasty. It's RAM.
That has never been used in America that way.
And she lives in the same county as me, just a different. So I live in North Yorkshire. She lives in East Yorkshire. So yeah. So my accent is a mixing one. I used to study English and American accent and British accent. Then once I worked with the Aussie people, so it's all mixing. Yeah, so Australian is very interesting. So again, I have a story about Australian accent too, which is my old friend. I was going to visit her. She was actually in Germany. She was au pairing, which means she was looking after kids. And
you don't say au pair.
We say au pairing, yeah. But anyway, European word. And
French word, I think.
Yeah, European. Yeah. So yeah, au pairing, looking after kids for families. So you go over from one country and you go and look after a kid. And you live in like shared accommodation or shared housing sometimes. And she actually lived with an Australian girl. 2 weeks it took, and her accent started sounding Australian. 2 weeks. Certain words just started coming out as Australian from my friend who was British. And it took 2 weeks before she sounded Australian on the phone. It was very strange. So the Australian accent, I think, it carries very quickly to other people. Do you not have any Australian friends?
I do. I have a Korean Australian friend who lived, I believe, half his life in Korea, the other half his life in Australia, and recently came back because he had to join the Korean army at the time. And his accent is 100% Australian to me. Sounds 100% Australian. Even though he's Korean, born in Korea, lived half his life in Korea, he sounds 100% Australian. But the last few times I met him, his accent's changing, is turning more American because his girlfriend is American. And a lot of people who learn English as a second language, their accents are more changeable, more malleable. It can depend on who you're listening to and for how long. I also have someone I know who moved to America when they were 5 years old. They have an American accent as long as I've known them. But when they talk to someone for long enough, like they talk to someone from Puerto Rico, she developed a Puerto Rican accent. She watched a bunch of British movies. She came up with a little bit of a British accent.
Yeah.
Your accent can sort of change based on what you hear more often.
Yeah.
For some people.
So believe it or not, I've been in Korea now for over 8 years, and my accent is nothing like what it was when I arrived. When my family came to visit me, they were very shocked at how my accent is different. And I actually went home after
being anymore.
Yeah, after going home. I went home after 2 years. So I was in Korea for 2 years. I went home and I actually met with some school friends. They were out around my town, and I met with them, and I could not understand what they were saying. I was shocked. And this was one of the school friends in particular. This was someone who was well brought up. He spoke very properly, very properly. Like I'm talking in school, he would almost like speak Queen's English, like the proper like English. And yeah, I saw him after 2 years, and he sounded like what I would describe a farmer to me. And I couldn't understand him at all. And I was shocked because his accent, because he went to university and he went
Could he understand you?
Yeah, he could understand me fine. Well, he said I was less British than like the accent sounded less. But it wasn't just because of not seeing him for a while. It was also because he went to university in southern England, and he'd picked up a southern accent as well as a northern accent, and it kind of mixed. There's a lot more southern than just Cockney. Cockney is London. So yeah, it just sounded so strange to me, and it was shocking. Like coming back to Korea and like hearing people speak again, like in English that I'm used to, it was like, wow, I can completely understand people again. Like I used to work with all Americans, and I could suddenly understand them better than I could my friends from back home. It was very strange. So yeah,
you've never been to America before.
Never been to America before. Yeah. So a lot of people have told me that my accent sounds a lot more American than what it did in the past. And also I've met people in Korea, and they've thought that, well, no, they've known I'm from England, but they've been able to think that I had a little bit of American accent. Yeah, which is strange.
Also Canadian friends.
Yeah, Canadian friends too. Yeah.
And in America, we also have lots of different regions, lots of different states that I can usually understand them, but like
I can't imagine what it's like state to state.
Yeah, like I'm from Florida, and a lot of people in South Florida usually come from the Northeast, like New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, and they speak like this. So I would have a typical normal American accent. You know, California is a little bit more laid back, but because we have really like a northern type of culture, Florida's very far south. We actually have to go north till we get a southern type of culture, southern type of accent. So, you know, if you could be someone from Alabama, you know, I'm from Alabama. It's totally different than our area. Don't mess with Texas. That's like a Texan accent. Even New York, like some older generations, like Bernie Sanders, if you heard him, you know, I'm from New York. Totally different accent than my area too. So every region has, and in different periods of time, will have their different accents.
Yeah. So yeah, I just want to stress this. I've been asked quite a lot about pronunciation and accents, and I'll add dialects in there too. And I think the most important thing for you as learners is to be understandable. Like people have to know what you're saying. It doesn't matter if you make slight mistakes, slight syllable mistakes here and there, because there's so much variation in English. There's so much between American and British, to be Scottish, Irish, Welsh. There's so many different, I'm talking countries here. Like there's counties, there's town differences, there's city differences. Like there's so many.
Generation differences.
Yeah, generation differences. Yeah. So yeah, an example, my granddad will speak completely what we would say broad Yorkshire, which means very strongly accent. I do not speak that. My dad speaks it a little bit. So it's kind of getting less and less as the generations change. So what is important is that you are understandable. Don't waste your time trying to sound perfect. Just focus on being understandable. Get comfortable, get confident speaking. Okay, if you make mistakes, fine. Get back up and try again. Or if you make mistakes, learn from your mistake and try not to make it again. Like just speaking today, like on camera, I'm live. I can't edit it. I can't change it. I probably made lots of mistakes. If
we make a mistake, we can't change it. We can't fix it.
I've paused, I've said, like it's natural and fluent to make mistakes in that way. So as a learner, you shouldn't be scared of making mistakes. You shouldn't be nervous, and you should be able to just practice and communicate confidently. Okay? So don't worry too much about accents and dialects. So I know some of you might be taking the IELTS or the TOEFL or any other English tests like this, and pronunciation is one of the things they look for. They're not looking for pronunciation as in an American accent. They're looking for pronunciation as in being understandable.
If you can understand the word that you're trying to say.
Yeah. Someone asked me this question like months ago, and I've actually watched a few videos about people talking about the IELTS and talking about like, oh, am I going to get marked down if I say something in a British accent instead of American if I'm doing the American test? It's like, no, you're not. As long as they can understand you, then it's fine. Like me and Mark, we speak completely different sounds, but we can understand each other. I've spoke to a lot of you.
And our students understand us.
Yeah, and our students understand us. Apart from me, when I say bad, they don't understand because I have to say American style. Bad. Yeah. And also where as well. Like I have to really push the R. Where. If in British I would just say where.
That's not normal. Where?
Yeah.
Where are you going?
Yeah. Where are you going? Yeah. So slight things like that, you just got to be aware of and learn. And that's me as a native speaker. I've got to learn that. So, but that's for teaching. So if you just want to be understood, if you just want to pass a test, just make sure you are understandable. Don't focus too much on the accents and the dialects and that kind of thing. Okay. So a good way to improve your pronunciation. So lots of people have asked me about pronunciation in the past. And so before I would say like, yeah, learn the phonetic script, practice on the dictionary websites and learn the different syllable sounds. However, yeah, that's a good starting point. That's not the end point. The end point is finding that word and listening to that word being spoken on TV shows, on movies, reading that word yourself in books, practicing speaking that word yourself, or listening to conversation or speaking that. You've got to hear that word naturally, okay? Listening to it on a website is a great way to start. Learning the phonetic script is a great way to start because it's all in the dictionary. You can look at the phonetic script and you can see how it's written in the dictionary. Great, you can speak it. However, that's not always how it's said in certain areas or certain dialects or certain accents. So listen how it's said naturally. An example of this is one of my students. They were convinced the word practice was practs. That's not how you say the word. And he was telling me that it was in the dictionary. And that's how it was said on the Oxford website. And no, it's not. Practice is the word. It might be said different in American, but practice. In English, we actually spell it 3 different ways. However, in America, they spell it one way. So I always spell it one way too. So it's easier. Yeah, so be understandable, noted. Yeah, I hope you do.
Just get the words down to be understandable first.
Yeah.
Like also when I hear people reading, sometimes they don't say things with the right flow, but later on, once you understand the phrases, the idioms better, you will. Like if someone says like, how are you doing today? It sounds very strange. It sounds robotic. But later when you're becoming natural, how are you doing today?
Yeah.
How are you doing today? It'll come out with the right flow the more you practice.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to add on pronunciation? Anything you've learned while teaching in Korea?
There's a lot of practice, and sometimes, depending on the country that you're from, certain letters, the way it translates from your language to English can make it difficult to understand. In Korean, the R's and the L's and the P's and the F's and like certain B's, will come over and they'll mix sounds. They'll confuse, like, road with load and rice with lice. Lots of things will come over. Buffet can turn to buffet or something. It's when you understand what the word is actually supposed to be and just practice it that way and just try to hear it naturally and try to say it those ways, then you'll definitely be getting better and more understandable.
Yeah, this is 100% why you need to learn to think in English and not translate. Because if you translate from your language to English, there are going to be sounds that aren't there. There are going to be sounds that are different. There are going to be sounds that are the same, but they're different sometimes. Korean, yes, it has the R sound. Yes, it has the L. But as Mark's just said, they're not used in the same way and they get confused all the time. The D and the T is also there too, but they get confused, and the P gets thrown in there too. So it's good to learn the basics and learn English and not translate. So one of the many reasons why when I first started learning Korean, I didn't level up, I stayed at a certain level, is because all I did was I just associated it with English. I learned the sounds as if they were English, but written a different way, which is not the way to learn. Like, you need to try and separate yourself from your language. So it's fine to use your language as a last resort. Subtitles on movies, subtitles on TV shows as a last resort is fine. I will use Korean in my classroom as a last resort, meaning if a kid is not listening, if a kid doesn't understand a word and I can't explain it to him, I will use it in Korean and then they'll understand it. But then what I'll do is I'll make sure they understand it by using English example. So instead of just saying, for example, I don't know, I can't think of it.
I'll have them explain back to me.
Yeah, exactly.
To prove that they understand.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of a word that I taught recently. What verb was it? Play.
Play?
It wasn't play. Oh, make models. Make models. So they didn't understand make. Now, I tried to show them. I tried to be like, okay, you can build things like this. You can make. They still didn't understand it, and they were really low-level class. So what I did...
And the word create is even too advanced.
Yeah. So what I did was I used my phone to translate the word make, so I showed them what the verb meant. Then they understood it. However, they didn't understand it in English. They understand it in Korean. So now, whenever I use that vocabulary word, they think the Korean word, not the English word. So what I did then was what I said was, make me a paper airplane. And of course, they know paper airplane, they did it. And I'm like, okay, you just made a paper airplane. And then they associate the word with English, not their language. Okay, so this was supposed to be an hour. We've gone over a little bit. So I think we will stop there. This was great. Maybe Mark Teacher will come and join me again in the future. I will post his, he also has Facebook too. I'll post his Facebook on your Mark page, and also his YouTube link. Again, I will post later on. And yeah, so he probably has a saying to say at the end of his videos, but remember, will study way. Where there's a will, there's a way. And I'll see you all soon. So remember, next week, there will be lesson 6 of Will's Successful Speaking, where we'll be talking about people. And next week, you will also get vocabulary video on Facebook and an idiom video as well. So bye-bye.
Bye. Hopefully see you soon.